Welcome back, you guys. You are listening to the Shmee podcast. I am your host, Sam Pellicero, at Sam Pellicero on Instagram and at Shmee podcast. Today, I am joined by the one, the only...
Matt Ross.
Hey! For those who don't know who Matt is basically one of my brothers since we grew up together. He is Ryan's brother, Ryan, the co-creator of Shmee. He's Ryan's younger brother, and Kevin, who played the alien in episode 15, the Area 51 special, is the youngest brother. So it goes Ryan, it goes Matt, it goes Kevin, and then adopted gay son gets thrown in there, me.
Yeah, so I was basically like the behind the scenes. I wasn't really in the videos, but...
Yeah, which is so that's why I'm really excited to do this episode with you, because you're right, growing up, you were our go-to cameraman or our props guy. And I want to apologize because when you did make a cameo, most of the time it was me ripping on you, pushing you into the walls, throwing you into a box. And...
For whoever did not see the music video that we made, I actually was the clown that Sam threw down the stairs.
Oh, wait, that's right. Yeah. For some reason, the entire time since then, I thought that was Anne.
No,
that was you.
You literally threw me down. I'm pretty sure I had some bruises the next morning, but we're not going to get into that.
I'm sorry. So Matt, tell the audience exactly how we know each other and your first, if someone said Sam Pellicero, like your first memory.
So we know each other because we are technically called those quote unquote army brats.
Yes.
So we met at McGill Circle, which is a military base. It's technically off base, but it's where a lot of military families live.
Which was, unfortunately.
Yes. Now, if you go there, it literally looks like it's like Halloween Town Part 2.
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's literally.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So we met there. We just talked about it, actually. I was 7 years old when we met.
Yeah.
So I really don't remember the first time we actually met, but I just do remember hearing the stories of how Sam was so mean to Ryan growing up.
Guys, I mean, you guys know because you listened to episode 2.
You guys all know that. So that's really the only reason I knew him. But the first occurrence we probably had was honestly just like seeing you behind camera, just like doing the most.
Probably. No, you mean in front of camera.
Yeah. In front of camera, literally just doing the absolute most. That was probably it. And I was just standing there so confused with Kevin, probably playing Bakugan or like Pokemon or something like that.
What?
I don't know. It's something Kevin used to love when he was younger.
I was like, well, I've never heard of that.
But yeah, and then we were just talking about a story. So Sam did this video one time. It was called the Pepsi versus Coke challenge.
And this was Ryan and I's first attempt to go viral. We thought this is gonna make us go off.
So I remember we were on the side of our house.
Wait, it was 2008. Don't forget. 2008.
And Sam had two little plastic cups, and one was supposed to be Pepsi, one was supposed to be Coke. And I remember he kept giving it to all of us, and he's like, all right, well, guess which one's Pepsi and Coke. And I remember tasting it thinking like, oh, definitely Pepsi. And this one, definitely Coke. And then at the end, I just remember Sam being like, they're both Coke. And then I was just like, oh.
But Kevin somehow knew the whole time that they were both the same.
Yeah.
And then in the end of the video, you see him running behind me going, I knew the whole time.
Yeah, probably. And that was probably the last thing Kevin needed. Sorry at that point, but.
No shade. Yeah. So my first memory of you that comes to mind, it was, you're going to crack up. Because it's really fucking funny knowing me now, and you're like, Sam, Nat would never. So it was when I was going through my skater phase.
Oh, God.
You see already. So you also were trying to go through not the skater phase in the fashion, but just you wanted to be like, not you want to be like cool, like bro, like I want to skateboard.
Yeah.
So you had like a Toys R Us skateboard. So let's like preface the story. I had an actual skateboard because this was the summer of 7th grade going into 8th grade, and I remember you and I were just going around the circle on our skateboards, and we ended up back at your house. And you're like, oh, Sam, do you want to come inside? Like, let's grab a snack and we'll go back out. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I walked in, and so this is really funny. This is after Ryan and I became friends. After
the whole feud.
After the whole feud, after your dad forced us to hug it out. So your dad knew who I was. But the thing is, in that summer, I grew out my hair to be all skater. I changed my
You're
clothes.
probably wearing Aeropostale.
No, but I wasn't. I was wearing Spitfire, the DC shoes. Like, I would make my mom go to Pakistan and get me clothes. And I also was wearing contacts. So I looked so different than that nerdy Sam Harry Potter style.
I have an exact picture in my head, like to a T.
Yes. And so keep that in mind.
Chartreuse necklace? No, that's probably after that phase.
That was after. Yeah. That was after the skater phase. And so we walk into your house and we're going to the pantry. And your dad, I guess, was in the living room. And he like gets up and he sees you. He's like, hey, Matt. And then he looks at me. He goes, who's this? And then I was like, Mr. Ross, it's Sam. He goes, Sam who? And I was like, Sam Pellicero?
So it was probably like an extreme home makeover.
Oh, like 100%. Yeah. And like your dad did not know who I was. And it like went over his head. He was like, oh, okay. And he walked away. And like, you and I got like our freaking Nutter Butters or something. And like we went back outside. But I'll never forget that. And I've talked to your dad about it too. And he laughs. He goes, Sam, I literally was probably always picturing the nerdy Sam, who I knew for a year at that point, and not expecting.
Yeah. And it's so funny because all that stuff I don't even remember. It's like.
You don't. I mean, because, everyone carries memories different.
Yeah.
And there's probably in that moment, I was probably scared because now I was friends with the Rosses and not like the little kid who was fucking beating you guys up. And so in that moment, I remember being afraid of what is Mr. Ross's reaction going to be to me now. Like, oh, so you're cool with all my sons now? But because he didn't even know who I was anymore, I was like, oh, okay, whatever.
That's funny.
So that was how Matt and I know each other. The original idea that Matt and I had for the podcast today, guys, was another Uber-themed episode because that's what started the podcast all the way back in episode 1. And Matt and I, for 2 years, both drove for Uber and had, stories to share. And pre-COVID, this was probably like back in the fall, I think.
Yeah, it was a while.
Maybe the end of the summer. Our original cool idea was you and I were both going to drive Uber for a night, see who could make the most money, and then also see who could get a really good story. Mm-hmm. And then that never happened. And Matt and I no longer drive for Uber because we're grown now.
I have it. I actually checked today, and I'm just like,
well, why would you? No.
Exactly.
Yeah, why would you risk
right now I don't need to.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I went onto the Uber app just to see honestly how long I've been Ubering for because I didn't even know.
Oh, really?
So it's been a total of 3 years now.
Yeah, because you started before me.
Yeah.
I remember I went to you and asked, how is it? And you're like, oh, it's great.
I just love the convenience. It's so convenient.
So convenient.
Especially in a time of need. Like the way I used to do it,
yeah,
which probably wasn't what most people do.
What?
It would be like I would Uber a Friday night and spend it at the bar on Saturday.
That's who you were then.
Yeah, exactly.
I was doing it because I was like, I'm not making enough money at work.
Yeah.
You were still living at home, so it didn't really matter.
Exactly.
But so that idea is not going to happen because also, even if Matt and I had the time, we're not going to drive during COVID. I'm not going to have some dirty ass people getting into my car and getting me sick. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not happening.
But that doesn't stop us from sharing some good stories because I have 2 Uber stories that I've never shared on the podcast, and I've just all kept them in my arsenal for the appropriate time. And I feel like today is the time. So I'll start, and we can go back and forth. I don't know how many you have.
I have only like 2.
Solid ones?
Solid. I don't know if they'll be as solid as yours, but yeah, you just go first.
Okay. So this one was actually the last time that I ever Ubered. Probably, I would say, maybe September last year. Because where Matt and I live, by the way, in New Jersey, it's like the best place. Because we're around the college bars and all of the Jersey Shore bars. So we make bank so easily.
Yeah.
So that's why Matt and I...
Super hectic. But literally any day.
Any day, any hour. Yeah, you're making at least $100 a day if you do it for like 6 hours. Mm-hmm. So this was towards the towards the end of the summer. And I always was lucky, and I always praise myself for being very lucky with always getting really entertaining rides and just normal people.
Which honestly makes the night go so much quicker.
So much quicker. So I feel like this story was the universe's way of saying, Sam, you got a nice raise at work. You do not need this shit anymore. And we're going to make sure you don't do this shit anymore by giving you the most bizarre ride. So I went onto the app, and the very first ride came up was someone over at the train station. And I was like, oh, I've never before picked up anyone from the train station. And picking up someone from a train station is like Russian roulette.
Oh, yeah.
Because you could either get someone who's coming back from vacation and they need to ride home from the train station, or you could get what I got was a stripper and a drug addict who were on their way to work,
or maybe some degenerates that went to the city for the day and they came back and
100%. So it's literally Russian roulette. Because versus all the other rides I had, well over 200 rides, were all just people, literally me going to their home, picking them up, dropping them off at the bar, and the reverse. Mm-hmm. So the girl gets into my car. She's nice. She has a suitcase. And I'm assuming, I was like, oh, she's coming back from, maybe she stayed at her friend's house or on vacation, whatever. And what I hate about Uber is it tells you the address, but if it's going to like a location, i.e. a bar or a strip club, it doesn't tell you that. Mm-hmm. It just tells you the address.
Yeah.
So as a local, if it said Centerfolds, I would have known to prepare myself for what was coming, but it didn't do that. So we start driving, and then all of a sudden, ding, ding, a pool. So I pick up someone else.
Which are so awkward, by the way.
So guys, if you ever want to know what it feels like to be awkward, that.
Yeah.
Because not only do you feel like, okay, now I definitely can't even start a conversation with either of these people.
That's when I just put the music on and I like just drive and then hopefully they don't tap me and I have to start a conversation.
Not only that, but you hope that even they don't converse.
Yeah.
Because every time that I did have a pool, it would either go two ways. One, they wouldn't speak to each other, or two, they would get into the craziest conversation. Like one time, this girl, probably around our age, was in the pool with an older woman and they shared like vagina waxing tips. Who's like spa
and then they're like,
location.
Sam, so what do you think about it?
No, I know. I'm like, I'm gay. I'm really gay. Like after this conversation, I'm really gay. And so I was driving along and I picked up this other guy, and this guy gets in and he's a little off, but I just kind of let it be. And he's, of course, sits in the backseat too. And she's on the phone, by the way. She has her headphones in. She's talking, and he's trying to talk to her, and she keeps going, I'm sorry, like, I'm on the phone. I'm sorry, I'm on the phone. And I so badly was fighting, just turning around and being like, dude, she's on the phone.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't want to do that. So it's probably about, I would say, about like 10 minutes into the ride. And mind you, I can see that I'm dropping her off first. And so we're about 10 minutes away from her location, 10 minutes into the ride, and they start talking because I guess she gets off the phone, and he's just shooting the shit, and he's like, oh, like, you look really nice tonight. Like, you going somewhere? And she's like, yeah, I'm just going to work, and, you know, I'm like, whatever. And I'm just minding my business. And then all of a sudden, it hits me when she starts talking about, I live up north, but the club I work at is down here. I'm like, she bartends? Because I'm like, I'm so naive to these kind of things.
But if she's a bartender, she's not saying that club.
Exactly. And so then I start to think about, okay, so she is going to work, but she brought a suitcase. I'm like, and she works at a bar? And I was like, what? Like, what is it? Like, what is the
Red
story?
flag.
I know. And then all of a sudden, I think it hit me and the guy at the same time. Because then all of a sudden, it went, meow. That's her strip outfit in the suitcase.
Yeah.
And then he goes, oh, so where do you work? And she goes, Centerfolds. And I go, oh my God, she's a stripper. That's really funny. I'm like, this will be a really funny story. So he keeps asking her all these questions. About her job, and it's so because he's being so creepy about it. Mm-hmm. So then we get to Centerfolds, and this is where I was like, I'm out, abort this mission, I gotta go, I'm deleting the app, take the money I earned from this ride, I don't care. So we get to Centerfolds, and she immediately just gets out, and then she closes the door, and he goes, can we change my location? And I said, yeah, like, where do you want to go? He goes, the bank. And I was like, oh my God, he wants to go and get money to then have me drop him back off. And because I could feel that girl felt uncomfortable and I was protecting her, I said, yeah, here's what you're going to do. You have to get physically out of my car. Like, I was so smart about this. I fucking G the shit out of this guy. I said, because he was having trouble changing the location. I said, I need you to cancel the ride. You have to physically get out of my car and then
Call the ride.
and then re-request the ride, and then I'll be able to accept it, and then you can come back and I'll bring it to the bank. Fuck, he got out of my car, I locked my doors, and I was out of there. I was done. I was out of there. I didn't like peel out, but like in a Sam Pell fashion. But I was like, yeah, not to cause a scene. And I've never been on Uber since. Wow. But I felt good knowing that I totally had that girl's back.
And he probably ended up going in there anyway.
Without any singles. So I don't know. Who the fuck knows? But yeah. So that's the last Uber story I've ever had.
That's definitely the icing on the cake, like the cherry on top.
I know. And I remember I came home and I was like, wow, that's a wrap. You go.
So this is the one that I thought about right when I thought of an Uber story.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a weekend. It was about like 2:30 at night. It was going to be like my last one.
Of the night.
I was just like getting ride.
One of those, yeah.
So I was like, all right, I might as well stay out here. Mm-hmm. So I'm in Long Branch. I'm in Long Branch. And I pick up this ride. So right when I drive up to the house though, I see this white van. And I see this bigger girl laying literally on the hood of the car like this, just laying there.
On the van?
Yeah, so right when I drive up, I'm like, like, here we go. So I go up to that, and obviously I'm not going to talk to her because I can tell she's like incompetent.
Wait, that was the girl you had?
So she's laying there. So I go up, and this guy walks out, and he's standing there, and he's like, oh, are you here for, let's say it's like Janine? I was like, yeah. He puts her in the car and he closes the door. But I look at him and I'm like, you're not coming? And he's like, no, like she's going. And I was like, no. I was like, it's either you get in the car with her or I'm not driving her. Because I'm not.
Was she basically unconscious?
Basically unconscious. I'm not going to be put in that situation.
No way.
And number two, if she throws up in the car, I'm not cleaning it up. You are.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like, yeah, so you have to get in the car. And he's like, okay. But he's like, if I come, like, can you drop me back off and I'll just give you cash? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So meanwhile, we are going from like Long Branch to like the Highlands.
That's a fucking 30-minute drive.
So I'm like, all right, here we go. But honestly, I was like, it's probably gonna be good money, so let's just do it. So I get in the car and we start driving. They're both in the back seat. As I'm driving, I literally hear this girl like dry heaving in the back.
No.
Like just like and I'm literally like looking over my shoulder like what is about to go on right now.
Oh no.
So he keeps telling her the whole time like, just breathe. And I'm like, do you understand that? Number one, that's not going to do shit. No, and number two, she probably doesn't even know what breathing is right now. So she's literally in the back. And I'm just driving. And then I hear.
No.
And I was like, no way. I'm right in front of, I'm like close to Donovan's Reef. And I'm driving. And I hear that. And I'm like, shit.
You're only at Donovan's.
So I literally am driving. And I hear the throw up. And I'm like, all right, here we go. So I pull over right in front of Donovan's. He's outside of the car. He pulls her outside of the car. So she's literally like hands on knees, just throwing up. He's just standing there. While we're doing this, cars are driving by beeping.
Of
like
course
screaming,
they
like,
are.
Yeah. Honestly, I was like concerned for her well-being, but I was also just concerned that like a cop car was going to come by and just see a car here with a girl throwing up.
Totally, absolutely.
And obviously I wouldn't get in trouble.
No,
an Uber driver.
But it's just the whole situation.
Yeah. So she's doing that. And I'm at the point where I'm like, I already have throw up in my car and I'm not that far away. Like, I just got to help her out and get her home. Because if they are going to call another Uber, God knows how long it's going to be. And I'm like, I don't want her just standing out here. So I was like, okay. So she gets back in the car. We're driving there. Meanwhile, the entire time we're driving from Donovan's, just think about smelling sweat and throw up in a mixture. So I literally have all the windows down and I'm driving. And it's literally just like an aroma. Like, so, no, literally the whole time I'm like, literally had my shirt over my nose and we're driving there. Finally, we get to the girl's house. What do you think she does? She's sitting in the back seat right behind the driver's seat. She reaches over and like touches my shoulders and goes, "Thank you for dropping me off." And I literally look back and I go, yeah, don't touch me. Because number one, like you just threw up in your, like, I don't want that.
Ew, do not touch me.
So he brings her back in and he comes back out and we don't. All right, I don't know if she like didn't go grocery shopping, but she didn't have any paper towels, didn't have like anything, and I'm like, well, I need to clean this up.
How bad was it?
It was literally like in the crease of the window and then in the little cup holder.
Fucking hate
which is
that.
the worst thing in the crease because like I can't really clean that.
No.
So he gets back in the car. He's literally talking to me the whole time, and he's like, "Oh, dude."
Because you have to drop him back off.
And he's like, "Dude, I'm so sorry," and I'm like, "It's okay, but like I'm gonna report this to Uber."
100%.
And he's like, "Oh, 100%." He's like, "Report it to Uber." He's like, "It's on my account, but whatever you're charged, I'm just gonna have." Her pay it. I'm like, okay. So we're driving back. It's whatever. We're listening to music. We finally get to Long Branch. He gets out and he gets disinfectant wipes and he hands them to me. And I'm like, okay. So he's, both of us are just cleaning the car, and he looks at me at the end and he gives me the cash, and I sit in my car and I'm about to close my driver's seat, and he looks at me and he goes, and meanwhile, the whole way we were there, he was obviously throwing some like flirtatious vibes the whole time.
To you?
To me, but
To you?
But I was literally just like, just throwing it out.
Wait.
So I'm sitting in the driver's seat, and he's just standing outside, and I'm at the point where I'm like, all right, this is so awkward. Like, we're not talking. Like, what's going
3
on?
a.m.
And he looks at me and he goes, so is that all? Like, is that all you need, or do you want anything else? And I go, oh no, like I'm fine. Like, have a good night, and close the door. And I'm thinking to myself,
He wanted to suck you off.
but I'm literally thinking like, what the fuck? Like, literally that, like, I wasn't even going to take the ride, but I was like, let me just take the last ride. And after that ride, number one, I had throw up in my car. So I'm like,
I'm done forever.
And literally I was thinking like, maybe I should just delete it. Maybe I should delete that.
Yeah.
And and then after that I went home and I actually got like $150 like from Uber for that.
Oh yeah,
Cleaning charge.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, should I have gotten 150? No, because I literally like cleaned it in 2 seconds.
But
I was like,
principle,
okay,
honestly.
like I don't have to Uber tomorrow now.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God. I can't believe I've never heard that story before.
Oh, meanwhile, she drove to Bar A. So the whole time I'm thinking, you drove to Bar A,
With
so
the
you probably shouldn't have drank.
No.
And you're literally blacked out throwing up.
Dumbass.
And she lives in the
all the way
Highlands,
on
so she had to go all the way back to get her car the next morning. And I'm like,
that's fucking crazy.
Priorities.
And that's like a 45-minute drive from the Highlands to get all the way to Bar A.
So I was just like, hashtag stupid. Like, but yeah.
Holy crap. I'm so happy that you just shared that story.
Yeah, that was
That's a
right
good
when you said
one.
Uber story. I was like, this one I definitely got to tell.
What year was that? Do you remember?
Definitely last year.
Oh, it was last year.
Yeah, it was definitely last year. I don't remember the time, but I remember it was just super late, and I was just like, yeah, I'm good.
That is so funny. I used to hate when I would accept the last ride. There wouldn't be a problem with the ride, but it would always be somewhere so far that my plan of I'll do one ride, I'm sure it'll be like 10 minutes out of my way, and it'd always be like, oh, we're going 40 minutes away. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, like one time it was 2:15, and I get a ride from Bar A to Rutgers.
Oh, you did tell me about that.
And I literally was like,
we were actually texting about that one time. Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like I'm not the type of person where if you get in my car and it's long, I would never be like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take it, get out. Because one time I went from Spring Lake to Manhattan. Worst thing ever. Literally, I went there and I made a lot of money. Coming back was bumper to bumper traffic, and I'm like, I'm literally just like, wasting money right now. So.
Wow. Well, so the point is, guys, don't drive for Uber.
Drive for Uber, but know where you're driving.
Yes.
Like the area.
Yes.
And the time.
Yes.
Because
that is true. And again, we are very blessed. Matt and I live in a very great area with great people to drive around. It's always going to be just kids just wanting to go out and having fun.
Yeah, and maybe DJs, hit or miss. But
I always got the best people from DJs. Always. But before I forget, I need to share my other story because it's something that I think is insane and weird, and not a lot of people even know about this story in general in my life, let alone the podcast. So this was the year of 2018 going into 2019 New Year's Eve. I'm driving for Uber, and it was one of the very first rides I had of the night, and it was locally. I turned it on here, and I went all the way to Tinton Falls, and I picked up a guy at his apartment, and it was odd because he sat in the passenger seat, and I think that's so weird.
No, honestly,
it's so weird.
When they get in the passenger seat, you're like,
fuck,
this conversation's about to like,
it's like, because you can't ignore them. They're literally next to you.
Yeah.
So he gets in, and he's our age, and I got this, I just got a gay vibe. I got that because you know me and energy. And the energy immediately just came, and I thought, oh my God, I think this guy is like vibing on me. But we didn't really say much. We like shot the shit. He told me he had just moved into that apartment from Howell, Jackson area. And ironically enough, he was a gym teacher and
Phys ed, but
whatever. No. Okay, listen. And so also they don't know like the other half of the segments yet. So they're gonna be like, oh, this makes sense later on. And it's actually weird, this ties in. So whatever, I drop him off at his friend's house. Again, it's like 9 o'clock. That's it. A year goes by. Whatever. And it's funny because every now and then I do think, I'll look back and I think to myself, or I thought to myself, I think that guy was crushing. Like I should have been like, oh, hey, you just moved here. Do you want to hang out and be friends?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the universe heard my thoughts because I'm on Bumble. And Bumble probably I would say actually it was 8 months later, probably more than that. And all of a sudden I matched with this guy. He's like super cute and like super just your average guy next door. I keep saying boy. And we're talking, and before we like meet up, because he's like, you want to meet up for a drink sometime? I was like, sure. He goes, I just want you to know, like, one, like I'm bi. I'm like, okay, I don't care. And two, he's like, I've never been with a guy. So like if this goes anywhere, like you'll be my first experience. I'm like, I also don't care. Like it's fine with me. If anything, that's better because I know there isn't gonna be like a list of things I have to worry about and guys have to worry about. So we meet up, and the entire time we're hanging out, I'm thinking to myself, I feel like I know you. Like you just look familiar to me, and I don't know what it is. And so we hang out one time, and then I think it just he wasn't ready for that yet. So but the thing is, like, we would talk on Snapchat all the time, but he would never add me on Instagram. He would never add me on Facebook. He would never let me have his phone number because he was so afraid of any of his guy friends finding out that he liked guys. I'm like, dude, first of all, you told me your favorite show is Friends. They know you're gay. So we'll start with that. And so but again, I couldn't like have any sort of ill feelings towards him because of that, because like he just wasn't ready. I've been there. Yeah. So then months and months go by, and then he hits me up again. He's like, hey, what are you doing? I want to hang out tonight. And I was like, okay, sure, let's go hang out. He goes, you can come to my place if you want. And I said, sure. The moment I pull up to his place, I realize, oh my God, this is that guy that I picked up on New Year's Eve last year. This is his apartment.
That's crazy.
And he told me where, and so then we get inside, and the moment I get inside, I said, dude, I know you. He goes, what do you mean? I said, did you take an Uber on New Year's Eve to your friend's house right after you moved in here? He goes, yeah. I said, I was your driver. And he looks at me, he goes, no. He goes, no, there's no way. I said, I was your driver. I said, this is fate. And I said, no offense, but I think we're meant to be together. I just like said it like, I just flat out said that. I was like, I think like, the stars are aligning right now. Because I was fucking with him so hard because I could tell he still wasn't ready to like be with a guy. So I was like, I'll just keep fucking with this head, And so then he goes, my friends don't know that I'm like, that I like guys and like whatever. And I turn around, and on his door, he has like the little friends frame. You know how they have that? I was like, your friends know you're gay. Yeah. I was like, you have like the friends memorabilia in your apartment. Like you have like Ross and Rachel shit. Like they know. So funny. And yeah, and then I haven't seen him since that day, but every now and then he does hit me up and he wants to hang out. And I keep saying, dude, I can't keep hanging out with you because...
Like recently?
Recently. And because I had a very honest conversation. I said, listen, you are a really great guy. I said, you're a really great guy. And I do enjoy when we hang out. And because of that, I catch feelings. And I said, I can't just keep hanging out with you because hoping one day maybe. I'm sorry. Were you watching that? Well, the full-length episodes of Shmee are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor.fm. So if you don't want to have FOMO and me missing the rest of the party where we're playing games, sharing more stories, and more of me, then head over there and I'll see you. Links are below this video. And if you want to support this podcast, head over to Anchor.fm where you can donate money to make Shmee even better. All right, I will see you guys there. Bye! Seriously, what are you waiting for? Go!